Hello, Facebook family. So, I had a late dinner, so sorry if I have anything strange in my teeth. Maybe I won't check it with you guys, I promise. So it is my 11th Facebook Live. I've been doing these Facebook town halls for 11 weeks. And it is my commitment to our community to be accessible as your representative in Washington. Therefore, I have committed to doing town halls every Wednesday at 8 p.m. in order to give our community the opportunity to talk to me about the issues that are most important to them. Broccoli, I love broccoli. No broccoli though, I hope not. My daughter hates broccoli, but guys are funny guys, so I'm sure he'll have lots of comments about tonight. And I expect that our turnout tonight might be a little low because I just know so many people are so excited to be watching the donkey debate or the Democratic national debates. And I watched a little bit of it. And boy, I felt like I was watching a elementary, maybe high school level debate where everyone was saying free lunch for everyone, and they were trying to outdo each other with, well, I'm gonna add, free chocolate ice cream as well for lunch, so you should vote for me. Literally, every other sentence was about some new entitlement or spending program that they wanted to create. It was just absolutely insane. So what was your favorite? Maybe we can do this. If you have a favorite question that was asked of the candidates, I can comment on that and or give you my answer to what I think that we should do, even though I'm obviously not running for president of the United States. Definitely nowhere in my agenda ever. Today, guys, is July 31st, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the significance of today for me, as well as the significance, So a year ago today, I lost my mother to stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And this year has been absolutely strange, heartbreaking at times, obviously. The first year living without a parent, the first, Christmas, the first everything, especially the first anniversary of your parents passing is hard. And I know that my new normal, if that even exists, will never be the same. But my mother was really my best friend. It really took me, she wasn't always my best friend, don't get me wrong. She was my mother, always my mother, but just my mother for a long time, especially through those teenage years. But early after I had my daughter, Charlotte, there was just a special and unique bond that was amplified after I had my daughter, and I became a mother, and I leaned on my mother for quite a bit. She helped me during, obviously, when I brought home my new baby, and I was like, what do I do? Mom was on the phone and or spent the night here, helping me take care of Charlotte. She helped me through, some postpartum depression I was experiencing, and my mom has always been my biggest cheerleader, my biggest fan, a mentor, even sometimes when I didn't realize that she was a mentor. And her life, as well as what she taught me, have had a profound effect on me and who I am. And my mother was really the person who taught me that it is so imperative and important to give back to our community and to be a voice for the underserved in our community, specifically the special needs community. So it's a significant day for me for lots of reasons, because it's been a whole year since I've somehow managed to get through day by day without my mom. But she's also a huge reason why I'm running for Congress. She has inspired me in so many ways. Dealing with her end of life journey, who, for any of you who have lost a parent, whether it was young, whether you were young or your parent was young. My mom was 62, so I definitely think she was young to have passed away, or people who are now dealing with the illness of their parents or diseases their parents have, and just old age and growing old. That end of life journey, I didn't know I would have to face so early, dealing with advance directives, dealing with power of attorney, dealing with insurance agencies on somebody else's behalf, especially after a diagnosis, a terminal diagnosis like my mother had, having to have hard conversations with doctors, having to fight with insurance agencies. That whole experience made me very keenly aware of the problems in our healthcare system, as well as the good things in our healthcare system, and that I need to go to Washington to fight so that everybody has access to affordable, quality healthcare. And I know, hands down, that even what was being very strongly debated tonight, Medicare for all, single payer, universal healthcare, are not our answers. They are not what my mother would have needed. I wouldn't wish that on anyone else's mother, father, child, friend, neighbor. And we need representatives who are willing to go to Washington to fight for our values and to fight for the things that we need here in our district. So just wanted to, start off on kind of a morbid point here, but my mom has just been so influential to me, and I just want to tell you guys to keep me in your prayers, keep my father in your prayers as well as my niece. So a lot of you may not know that I had a brother that had a very bad drug addiction. And I'm going to talk a little bit tonight, guys. I know we have a lot of people on, but I know we're probably going to have a low turnout because of the Democratic National debate, and that's fine. But I do want to give you guys a little bit more information about me, who I am, what makes me me, what I deal with on a daily basis, and the type of fighter that I am for my family and that I will be for your family. So again, I have, a lot of you don't know, but I had, or some of you do know, I had a brother who had an over 10-year addiction to drugs, which is one reason why ensuring that we don't have a porous border and we put an end to drug trafficking at the southern border is an important issue to me. A whole other topic there. But my brother and his ex-wife, girlfriend, had 2 children. And because they lived a lifestyle where they chose really drugs over children, their children were taken away from them. And my parents, God love them and bless their souls, found themselves in their, I think, late 40s. They had already raised 4 children, but ended up adopting my 2 nieces. And those 2 nieces were, I think, 4 and 2, maybe 5 and 2 when they were adopted. And one of my nieces, who I talk about quite a bit, was diagnosed as severely developmentally delayed. She was nonverbal and on the autism spectrum. I talk about her quite a bit because that experience had such a profound impact on my life and my family's life. As a single professional, at the time, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, I tried to help my parents out as much as possible. Again, they were older, finding themselves here raising 2 little girls all over again. One of my nieces, the niece that was diagnosed with autism, she's amazing. She's will always have autism. Love her to death. The other niece, once she hit puberty, found herself dealing with severe mental health issues. And even up to, last year when my mom was diagnosed, at the age of 15, actually at the ages of 13 and 14, she was cutting herself. She had severe anxiety. She was in therapy. By the time, or last year, my mother was diagnosed, my niece for the past year had been in and out of mental health facilities. She had attempted suicide through pills or different means several times. And one thing I learned about the true mental health care crisis going on in America is that it's very severe for adults, and there's a lack of resources for adults, most definitely. But the lack of resources for adults is nothing compared to the lack of resources for juveniles. And I've again seen that firsthand with my niece, who, you know, we're a God-fearing Christian family. My niece was going through some very difficult times, seeking mental health services. She had some of her breakdowns, as well as suicide attempts. And time again, we found that when she would have these suicide attempts, when they would call 911, whether it was at school, whether it was at home, that there wasn't a bed or a facility for her to go to. So finding a facility or services or treatment was extremely difficult. When she sometimes did find a facility, it was as far as Torrance. It was downtown LA. It was, if we were lucky, it was in Northridge, which is 15-20 minute drive. But even in a kind of longer care facility, the place that we found that worked the best for her was Casa Pacifica over in Ventura County, which was a phenomenal facility to help her with her struggles. And they actually, about a year ago, just over a year ago, I think in March, was when my niece was released, and she hasn't been back. We haven't had to have another hold, a 72-hour hold for her or longer. And she's blessed to have gotten through this year, especially after having dealt with my mother. My point is that there is a true mental health crisis going on in the United States, and even evident this past week when a individual with an AK-47 shot and killed, I think, 3 people, including a 6-year-old boy. We have to put resources into this at the county level, at the state level. It's my understanding that right now the state it may have to withhold funding for certain counties because they're not meeting the federal mandates. So this is a true issue that we have to deal with at all levels of government, and it's something that I'm also committed to working on. So I know this has kind of been a very long intro, but I think it's very important for you guys to know that whether I like it or not, I've had a lot of life experience, and I see what is going on for our families on a day-to-day basis. And whether it's young families, whether it's mixed families or unconventional families, they're all families that need representatives that understand our values and are willing to fight for them in Washington. So let me see if there are any questions. Oh, we went to broccoli. Donald. I watched the Democratic debate, a bunch of desperate panderers looking for their next job. Right. It is a very interesting, slate of Democrats, isn't it? You know what? We should do like a little fun game and see if you can name them all. Like, you get a prize. I couldn't name them all. But what I do know is they're pretty much all advocating to move towards adopting, passing, implementing, even through executive order, as many new socialist policies as possible. If you would have asked me a couple of weeks ago, would have just hands down, Biden's going to be the nominee. I think he's definitely lacking a little gumption now. I think that, unfortunately or fortunately, he has a very long voting record, which is very much coming back to haunt him, since his party has really changed so much over the past, I don't even know how long he's been in government, right? So really what it's kind of seeing as if the field, and meaning the majority of people that are running and attacking him for his positions, I very well see it as maybe the Democrat Party has left Joe Biden. So, Joe Biden, I don't know how you're going to get through this, guy, but good luck to you. And not guy, but guy Joe Biden. So, I did want to touch on something really quickly because I got a little angry this week. I guess that happens quite often when we're talking Washington politics because they are absolutely ineffective. But I'm going to pull something up because I want to read it from our very lovely representative, Katie Hill, who was apparently at a chamber event this past week, or I think these past couple days. And she said, quoting her, "We're not going to fix the issues of immigration this Congress. We're not going to have this massive sweeping immigration reform. We're not going to have a total agreement on what border security should look like or whether we should get rid of ICE or anything like that." So our representative, who's been in Congress for 6 months, refuses to fight, actually just refuses to do her job. This is her job. Her job is to go to Washington to solve our nation's issues. And she's already thrown in the towel. Guess what, Katie girl? You're going to have to throw in your towel a little sooner than you expected because this is your last term. Guys, this is unacceptable. What job have you ever had that you were hired to do something and is she still on the probationary period? Is she just throws in the towel? The sad thing is that this has been her position since day one. If you guys remember or can recall, 3 days in to her being sworn in, she refused to come to the table to talk about immigration reform, to talk about funding our southern border. She refused to acknowledge that there was a humanitarian crisis going on at our southern border. This is a game to her. This is a game to her, and this is not representative of our community's values. This is absolutely unacceptable. Unacceptable. So, Guy, she does do videos on how to do selfies. Yes, and she tells her constituents, who she apparently thinks are morons, what the definition of a selfie is. Everybody knows what a selfie is, Katie. And just because you don't like what your constituents are saying and what they're asking of you, doesn't mean that you have to demean them. Completely unbecoming of a congresswoman. Guys, Border 6 funding, our southern border, permanently funding our southern border is a top priority of mine. Fixing immigration, because immigration touches on so many of the other issues that we care about and need to fix here in the United States. Immigration reform should be a top priority. And again, we're not going to fix the issue of immigration reform this Congress. That is a bold statement. Why don't you stop investigating our current president to actually find nothing and actually start working on these things, coming to the table? She won't, because she's even left of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. She is officially part of the squad, guys. I go to Ilhan Omar's Instagram page, and if you look back a few months ago, maybe January, Ilhan Omar has a picture of her squad, which includes Katie Hill. So all of this is starting to make more and more sense, as if we didn't already know this. Katie is a progressive liberal who doesn't represent our community's values. She's a part of Ilhan Omar's squad. She's anti-Israel. And how is that evident? Well, one, her BFFs are all anti-Israel and all support the BDS, the boycott on Israel. As well as, most recently, she just refused to go on the AIPAC trip to Israel so that maybe she could actually learn about the issue maybe she, maybe she could actually do something about this issue. Maybe she could actually lead her squad on this issue. But again, Katie is not a leader. She's a follower. And her values don't represent our community. This is another thing I'm very angry about, because our country was found on Judeo-Christian values. This is who we are as a country, and our closest ally, our strongest ally, our most democratic ally, who actually respect people and respect law and who are really a beacon in the Middle East, Katie refuses to support. Absolutely insane and absurd. Lydia, that's right. I don't know. I went on a little bit of a rant here, so thumbs up to you too. It's good to see you. So guys, Lydia, Lydia Chavez. Okay, so, and Barbara Walker. So guys, if you're not friends with Barbara, please make sure that you friend her right now. I don't know if you want me to make that call, Barbara, but Barbara is on our 38th Central Committee, so the official elected Republican Party in the 38th Assembly District. So for those of you who aren't super politically savvy to the way that the party politics work in our district, we have a congressional district, which is the 25th Congressional District. Within that Senate district, we have Scott Wilk, who is our 21st, he's the 21st Senate District, who represents the majority of the Congressional District, as well as 2 assembly seats, the 36th Assembly District and the 38th Assembly District. The 38th, guys, we have got to help Barbara. Guys, get in touch with Barbara. We have to help that committee and whoever our nominee is to run to take back the 38th Assembly District. It's a high priority. It's something that I am supportive of as well. And guys, please connect with Barbara if you're interested in doing so. It is just super imperative. Michelle has a question. She's too busy making sure people know the proper identification of selfies. Yes, we did discuss Katie's we're gonna have to, Guy, can you think of a good name for, the way Katie likes to insult her constituency by, pulling out her Webster's Urban Dictionary, maybe. So the other thing is going on this week, guys. I am actually going to be doing a few coffees around the district. We have one coming up in Acton next week, as well as Simi Valley next week. So if you're interested in coming to visit me, to hear about the issues that are important to me, as well as talk about the issues that are important to you, please can DM me and we'll get you some info. If we're doing one in Simi next week, and in Simi at the beginning of next week, and Acton at the end of the next week. And then we have a few more I know that we're scheduling in Palmdale, Lancaster. Check out my website, www.SuzetteValladares.com, to sign up. We're going to start, we actually have a volunteer kickoff launch party that we're going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. We've done some phone calls and whatnot. So if you're interested in volunteering, please go to the website. It is so imperative that we all come together to volunteer to. And I got a few new pair of running shoes, because we're going to be walking, canvassing, knocking on doors, making phone calls, and I need your help. It's just so imperative. We know that Katie Hill has already started walking. The unions have already started to show up for Katie Hill. So we got to do it too, guys, and we got to organize. I did see another question in here. If not, I'm going to make up something fun to talk to you guys about. She's just plain rude. No respect for her constituents. This is true. Okay, guys, I had a really, I'm going to leave you with one, unless you guys didn't have any questions, I guess, especially regarding the debate. But, so last week, at the end of last week, I was really fortunate to sit down with a group of Republican women donors, and it was a donor lunch that I was just so excited for their support. but we really started to talk about women's issues and how actually what we see in this very seat is we lost this seat because women, independent women, Republican women, ended up voting for Katie Hill because we've done a horrible job about just owning the issues that women care about. And it's not too different than the issues that everybody else cares about. We've just done really some bad messaging. And one of the things that came up was our positions are the way that the party has been negatively perceived on women's issues, specifically abortion, the right to choose, the right to life, and just how diversified all women are on these positions. So I was really thinking about this issue, and I think about these issues, women's issues and just issues in general all the time. But one of the things that is most upsetting about these so-called liberal women's groups to the left that want to empower women, and how far left they are when it comes to women's health care, and just how damaging their positions and their agenda is to our youth. So two things. You'll see that, Mario Lopez was on Twitter today being attacked for his position on gender identity for 3-year-olds. Completely understand his position. I think the other week my daughter was telling me that she was a hot dog. So I'm not gonna, I tell her you're silly, but I also let her be a hot dog for a day or for the hour. But the very next day, she was a chicken. So children's imaginations run wild. They see things, they mimic things. They, if they could be a chicken or a hot dog really for the day, they probably would. But I think it's just so mindful, one, to allow parents to raise their children that they want to raise their children, to have the opinions that they want to have. But mostly, guys, we have to get people like me elected into Congress to combat the liberal left, specifically the liberal progressive woman's left, who want to take away our parental rights. Guys, there is a true attack on parental rights in the state of California and even nationally. When you're talking about when the liberal left is saying that they want a child, a 12-year-old girl, to not have to go to her parents to talk about sex, to talk about her reproductive health, when you are actually legally saying that a parent cannot talk or be involved in that conversation with their daughter and their physician, these are my rights as a parent, guys. And I have a huge problem with the liberal left's agenda when it comes to our children. And we know that our representative is not going to stick up for family values, is not going to stick up for parental rights. She doesn't care about them. She, as a matter of fact, doesn't care about any of our community's values. So Katie's has to go. I have one more question I'll take care, guys. Guy, what are your thoughts on the recent City Councilwoman Ruth Levano's fiasco in Simi Valley? Well, I completely 100% disagree with her reaction, with her using her city council office to make the horrible, horrific statements that she did, as well as really advocating for lawlessness. Absolutely insane and absurd. I wasn't able to watch the actual city council meeting where the community gathered together to confront her on this issue. Guy, would love to hear your update on what happened. But, it's my understanding that there may be a recall. And if that's what the community wants, then I would support that 100%. But Guy, please, if you have additional information, I'd love to hear it. Okay, so Phil, I'm taking your one, I always do that, right? I say one more question and then I take one more question. Another question. Do you think that the law signed by Gavin demanding candidates show their taxes will stand? What do you think of the law? 100% it's unconstitutional. And I think not only is it unconstitutional, but it's un-American and disgusting. To take away the right of nearly 5 million Republicans or voters in the state of California to vote for who they want to as president is absolutely wrong. And if we got to recall Gavin Newsom on this, guess what? Sign me up. Recall Gavin Newsom. I think it's absurd. I mean, I hate to say this, but I kind of long for the days of Jerry Brown, right? Who had even the smallest sense of what it is to be an American, what it is to respect the Constitution, what it is to respect voting laws, what it is to respect the will of the people. And I mean, our current governor, guys, I'm actually ironically wearing one of my hashtags is Save California, and there's a new website up that it's a new PAC as well. I think they're a new PAC. And our objective is literally, we have to save California. We have to take back our city council seats or state assembly seats or state senate seats. We do not have a single Republican elected at statewide office. And this is what you get when you have a tyranny, when you have a one-party system. And then maybe I'm exaggerating there on the tyranny, but kind of not really, when they're trying to take away our right to vote for president. Absolutely absurd. I think it's very interesting that they would require that the president, that presidential nominees have to release their taxes, but not the governor or anyone else in the executive office in the state of California and or the legislature. It'd be really interesting to see everybody's tax returns. I think it's absurd, but it's just completely hypocritical of them. Okay. So, Candy, your question is, what is your opinion about California trying to control what churches can say? I'm not really familiar with what specifically you're talking about. Churches desperately need to get out of 501c3 status. I am very, as a nonprofit executive, I'm very familiar with 501c3 status. I'm also very happy that we now have an administration that oversees the IRS, and that a couple years ago, when the other administration was dictating to the IRS to attack Republican conservative groups and nonprofits. Very sad time in American history, specifically for the IRS. And I don't know what you're talking about specifically in your question, but what I do know is that we have a current administration and IRS that will allow churches to do their work, to preach the gospel, to preach their values, which I think the left is intolerable of, because anytime it's just baffles me how far we've come where Christian values and are attacked on a daily basis. I mean, our country was founded on religious tolerance and liberty and freedom. Yes, we have a separation of church and state, which is brilliant and I completely agree with. But what is going on in Washington, the national tone from the liberal left, is the very reason we're seeing religious intolerance. We're seeing that growing intolerance. And I again, I don't know exactly what you're referring to at the state level, but I can guarantee you that it's coming from the national conversations, from Katie Hill's best friend, Ilhan Omar, and Rashida Tlaib. And this is something that, again, Christians and, Judeo-Christians and really anybody of any faith should be up in arms about, because these are our values, and these very values are what give us the freedom and liberty to worship the God that we choose to worship. Okay. Right. Okay, guys. So currently churches cannot talk politics from the leaders or pulpit, or they will lose their tax exemption. It was my understanding that they can talk politics or values, they just can't talk or promote a specific party. So if something's changing there, it's definitely something that I would love to help tackle at the federal level if possible, and or I bet it would also be something that could go to the Supreme Court, which I'm so kind of stoked that there may be a true change of direction in the Ninth Circuit, guys. We have now the president, I think, is in the process of making an additional appointment, obviously if it's approved by the Senate, which would actually flip the Ninth Circuit. Thank God. And guys, I'm not for judicial activism. I think, I believe in judicial. I was a big supporter of Justice Scalia. I think that I believe in the Constitution. I believe that we should look at the way things are written. I'm not actually for either party having too much control over any of the courts, because I think we need to stay true to our Constitution. But the Ninth Circuit was the epitome of judicial activism and leftism inserted into the courts that we've ever seen. So I'm really glad that we now have some balance there. Thank you. Great question. I think that's all the time I have for. I'm going to spend some time with the family. And I really thank you guys for coming on tonight. I know you're probably watching the debate. I'm surprised we didn't have any crazy questions come up, because there were some cool, really funny one-liners. But again, I will see you next week. Same time, same place, 8 o'clock. If during the week you want to ask me a question, I do try and do a pretty good job at responding quickly via direct message. So shoot me over that question. I also will try to address the question next week's live town hall. This is Suzette Martinez Valladares. Please visit my website to sign up to support me. A $10, $20 donation, anything that you can spare to take back our district from Katie Hill. Would love your support at SuzetteValladares.com. Bye, everyone. Have a good night.